can use with your host, Marcus Jefferson. Oh, Bulletin News you can use.
Welcome to the Bulletin News. My name is Marcus Jefferson, and I am the publisher of the Michigan Bulletin newspaper, the most widely known newspaper in the state of Michigan. Minorities, that is. But anyway, we're talking about financial literacy today. And with me, I have Twyla Birdsong. And Twyla, before we get started in financial literacy, I want to know your passion. I want to know your passion personally, and I want to know your passion professionally. Can you just give us a little bit?
Well, I am very passionate. I think most people in Lansing may know me from singing. I've been on in the blues scene for quite a while, and also a lot of people know me from doing daycare. Those are the two things I'm been passionate about for over 30 years, raising children and, my own children. I have adult children now, which is weird for me, being an empty nester. And then, like with music, I just decided to put those things on hold right now while I pursue really getting into financial wellness. A few years ago, I just really had a inkling that I needed to get total wellness, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And through that journey, I've been allowing, Yahweh to lead me through that journey and what that really means for me. And so with financially, I started a few years ago and really getting an education on how to do my finances. And that's been a really big passion for myself right now.
Well, you are truly blessed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they don't make financial goals for themselves, especially our young people, especially as a family. Why is that so important?
Well, the nucleus of the family nucleus is where everything starts. It's the community comes from there, government, local, and as far as national community, it all starts in the individual and the family. So if you have a healthy family, whether it's financially or physically, then that makes your community more healthy. But a lot of times, unfortunately, we have not been taught, as most families, on how to really govern our finances. We're told to go to work, get an education, go to work, and pay your taxes, but it's not even told to us how to do some of those critical things for wealth building.
Briefly mention what I talked about earlier. How can families put financial literacy and budgeting at the forefront of a new year? It's almost like you got a new slate. Mm-hmm. How are we going to do this where we can build wealth starting day one, January 1?
So this is a really good time to have that conversation, because most people are talking about new year, new you, right?
Yeah, New Year's resolution.
That's right. Everybody has a resolution. But the fact is every day that you wake up, you can start afresh. But I get the whole concept of New Year's resolution. So I want to just really help people capitalize upon that new dedication to oneself, whether it's physically or financially. But as far as financially, I want to help capitalize upon that and just getting with families and showing them, first of all, where they are with their finances, because most people don't even know. They don't want to think about it. They just say, I don't have enough money for the end of the month or what have you. But have they really sat down to see what they have coming in and what they have going out, and then restructure what they have, whether it's having less things go out or finding ways for more money to come in?
Yeah, you've got a great point there. If you are spending more money than you take in, that's a recipe for disaster. And, the thing, I've taught school, and one of the places I taught, I was a math teacher at Walter French. Mm-hmm. And I was the only teacher who taught anything about financial literacy, and it's just not being taught in schools. What can a family do, what can a community do to get more financial literacy at an earlier age to our young people?
Well, I really suggest, and it comes from it's difficult to say sit down as a family and do it, especially when those who are in charge. You know, I had my best intentions of running a good financial household, right? But I just didn't know, I didn't have the right skills on doing it, as far as what I thought I should be doing. I think that's where it comes from, first of all, Marcus, where we put our priorities.
Yeah,
you know?
needs versus wants
Exactly.
and resources.
Exactly. And especially, and I'm going to point this out just a little bit, especially when you are dealing with emotional issues. That is why I spoke about the total wellness. A lot of times overspending comes from, and we have a skewed way of looking at needs versus want, because emotionally we are dealing with finances. Instead of practically and putting it down on pen and paper, what do you need to live? What do I need to have abundance, to feel like I have abundance? Because a lot of times we think abundance is, you know, the sparkly thing and the next sparkly thing, which every sparkly thing gets dull. So what do you do once that thing gets dull? And what do I want towards the end of my life? We think so much about what right now is, and then we neglect, am I preparing for tomorrow? Am I preparing like I'm a grandmother now? I know that's crazy to think about, as good as I look, but you know what? It came upon me so suddenly, and there are things that I was like, I need to get hyper vigilant about making sure I prepare for my future, because it's not just my future, it's my grandchildren now. They're looking at their granny, and a lot of times, like when I was growing up, we looked at the older people, like what they had and what they did. I'm now that person. So I was like, I have to get my things together.
Oh, yes. And see, the thing that I try to stress is, probably you try to stress too, the first thing on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the top of the pyramid, is food, clothing, and shelter. Those are needs. An iPhone is not a need, you know, it's a want. And there's so many misconceptions around needs versus wants, and how knowing what you got coming in and what you got going out and what you can afford. Because I see it all the time. I've got friends that are older than me. I want a Mercedes. But do you have the wherewithal to maintenance that car properly? Do you have the wherewithal to have insurance on that? Or when you get in a wreck, this is the second year you've been walking because you're still paying on a car that you can't afford. Just address that a little bit.
Absolutely, Marcus. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I believe that is the whole concept of our mentality, especially those who are lower income, because you always want to do better, right? You want to be able to not just have the things that you need, but some things that you want. But there is a such thing as building blocks. We can't have, you know, before you get the Mercedes, maybe know how to operate a bicycle. And I know that seems crazy for our society, but and we have to think about too, what seems abnormal to us as maybe Americans, I'd say, is commonplace somewhere else. So you as a person, what do you need? Like you said, it's, what is it? Clothing,
Food, clothing, and shelter, and you got to crawl before you walk.
That's right. That's right. I know when I started out young, and my first place was an efficiency. You know, efficiency is a small 1-bedroom, all utilities included. I had my basic needs there. I had a bathroom, I had a kitchen, and I had a bed.
Yep, and it was all in one room except for the bathroom.
Exactly. But it was within my budget as a young person. And I would say that that's one of the top things is your mindset. Going back, just make it simple. What do I need to survive? And then on top of that, start adding the layers. And the more the cost is up, the more you're going to have to earn. So what do I need to do to take care of the things that I need?
Well, you know, one of the things that I've been talking to my kids about and adults about for years is what we call a permanent underclass. How do we break that cycle and create generational wealth?
So with that, it comes to where am I putting the money that I have coming in? So if I get this latest iPhone, and instead of learning about investments, because that's where wealth building comes, not even saving, when you start getting into investments, like that $50, I will take it practical with me. What I had to do just recently, and I've done this several times throughout the year, I will go and look at my subscriptions, my Prime membership subscriptions, what I'm streaming, and it was $40 worth of streaming services, and I still had more that needed to be done. So that $40 for entertainment that I did not look at every day, first of all, that $40 could now go into a mutual fund and then start building. You have that compound interest. That's where I think the wealth gap with the education needs to be done, because I feel like young people, I'm going to speak more about young people, they would be more apt to do some of these things if they saw the benefit. They know the benefit. Like right now, if I want some shoes, I'm going to go buy some shoes, and people going to be looking at my shoes and saying how cute they are or how nice they are. That's that immediate benefit, right? That's meeting them. But man, the benefit of when you want to retire because you're too old, or you're too tired to go in and have to listen to somebody talk that you don't want to feel like hearing them in the morning, right? But you have to stay on that job past prime time because you did not do some things in the earlier years,
and
right?
on the front end. Or I see this all the time. People getting their babies some Jordans.
That's right.
And a month later, they're on the thing in the car, and the child can't wear it. The child can't eat.
That's right.
No Jordans, and people don't understand. If you take that money and put it in a life insurance policy,
That's right.
or you build a portfolio
That's right.
for the family, and let's talk about that a little bit. People don't even know what to have in a portfolio. They don't know if they need some precious metals, some stocks and bonds, some insurance, because guess what? Tomorrow's not guaranteed to anyone.
That's right. Now that one is past my my profession. I will say that you should go. I will say that everyone should have a professional that they can go to as far as making sure that their portfolio is broad. My profession, my expertise is with helping people to get their finances together as far as a budget. Also getting them to have a life insurance policy, but then also getting them to do investments as far as mutual funds. Now, I do have some other things as far as my personal portfolio, like silver and things like that.
Precious metals.
There's also wealth building through real estate. So there's many things that you can do, but where I advise people is just the basic. Getting a life insurance policy on you. If your spouse or the breadwinner passed away, do you have income protection on that person, or else you just lost that income, and then that family could be in jeopardy of losing a house and things like that.
Yeah, being homeless,
or even if it's something simple like I can't put my child into daycare because I can't afford it, and you can't, you don't quite qualify for state aid, but I just needed a little extra money for that, them things like that we don't even think about. So I do that to make sure that is first done, but then I also help them to look at their budget. What do you have coming in? What do you have going out? To really think about it, to really give it a refresh, Yeah,
and it's funny. I used to run a computer training program that we had. It was income based, and I told people, I said, this program isn't for people deciding whether they need a Mercedes or a Lexus. This is people who are deciding whether they need toilet paper or soap. And you don't want to be in that situation. And we all got something in our budget that we can cut like the cigarettes, like the alcohol, like any type of illicit drugs. But if we prioritize those types of things over food, clothing, and shelter, and having a savings account and a checking account. You know how many times I've been to Walmart and see a long, long line? I said, what are these people doing here? They don't have a checking account, and that's the only way they can get their check cash. And I'm saying, go to the credit union. Do something simple. All you have to do is have $5 in your account. But they don't think like that. And I hope that's where what you do and what you advise comes in.
It is. And Marcus, I will say that we stay trapped in certain positions, again, based on our emotions, okay? So those things that you mentioned, alcohol, cigarettes, what I said, like entertainment as far as TV, all those come from emotionally not having the stability that you need or that foundation. Like when I was growing up, our emotional foundation came from really church. We went to church a lot. That was our family. And we had family also. But the way life is set up right now, where people are working from home and they're really alienated from other people, so I understand why they feel the need to. It's a dopamine to have that Amazon package delivered to you, okay? So I'd really encourage people to find other outlets that's not going to destroy their goals towards being healthy. If alcohol is giving you toxins to your body, or if smoking is leading you into certain things that's going to be medically destroying your wellness in that way, I really suggest that people take stock on what can I replace this with. So it's
something positive
that's going to lead them to the goal that they want. Look at where you want to be. Don't just allow life to happen to you. Decide where you want and have the courage, because some people have given up hope. They've tried to have a goal or whatever, and then when they see that, because it's hard out here, okay? It is difficult, and there's adversities always coming against you. But that comes with also getting your tribe right, getting around some people or like-minded people, because you're always going to find those people that's going to lead you to
the wrong stuff.
The wrong stuff, right?
Matter of fact, now that we're talking about that, I want to talk a little bit about it takes a village to raise a child. And it takes a financial literacy village to raise a child. We have so many young people that don't know the basics. How can we intertwine the community in with our young people and make sure that the next generation can be healthy, wealthy, and wise?
Okay, so that is an African proverb. It takes a village to raise one child, right? And that was the premise of my daycare, too. We Village Daycare. It takes a village to raise a child. And I saw myself as being that mother helper. And we need that. We need that assistance. And I'm taking it on one person at a time, one family at a time. I am very open to. They can find me on my social media or email me if they want to just get with someone to, like Twyla. I know my finances are crazy, and a lot of people stop themselves from doing it because of getting help. Because first of all, they think that there's no help. And then they think that they're going to be judged. But because I hold certain licenses with the state, I'm under obligation to have a fiduciary responsibility of not discussing other people's business. But if they would just get with me one-on-one, I would help them reset themselves, retrain their brain or their mindset, rather. And I love to work with mothers. Because if you can help a mother, you can help a whole nation, because we set the tone.
Yeah, that's the foundation of the family. Matter of fact, now that you've brought that up, we'll discuss this at the end of the program as well, but what are the different ways that they can get in touch with Twyla and say, hey, Twyla, I need to fix my family. I need the good on the come up. I want something better for my kids than I had for myself.
Well, they can definitely email me at tfleming@primerica.com, or they can just reach out to me on social medias. I'm only on Instagram right now, but under Twyla.abundantliving. And because I want us all to have that abundant life, not just in things, but in peace and joy. And when you are financially stressed and you have the creditors calling you, or even if your child wants something and don't have the right concept or the right thought of, they can start weighing out their wants and needs. And I help parents to start working with their children young so that they can see wants versus needs. But they can contact me, reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to help them. We have what's called a financial needs analysis. I'm an independent rep, and I do financial services. So we have what's called a financial needs analysis. And what that is we basically sit down with people. We go through their budget. A budget is nothing more than a GPS saying, this is where I am right here, but I want to get there. So how do I get there? And most of the times we all over the highway, right?
Yeah, instead of taking a straight line,
Yeah.
we're over here, we're over there. Yeah, you can go east to get to California,
Right.
but you got to get to the Atlantic Ocean, come all the way around the world to
Right.
get to the Pacific Ocean to get back to California.
Right.
And this is the segue to the final point. This New Year's reset on what needs to be done. I just talking about the bare basics. What would be the bare basics to reset the family financial goals for 2025?
Okay, so I am going to go back to what you were talking about, the basic needs. Go back to those basic needs with housing, food, and
Food, clothing, shelter.
food, clothing, shelter. So I would say write out, what do I need? And most of us don't need another pair of shoes. I'm guilty. I always think I need another pair of black shoes.
Uh-oh.
But yes, I do. But Twyla, look in your closet. So that's the first point. Take an assessment of what you have. Straighten up around the house. And this seems very basic, but I learned that if I knew where things were and had a place for them, then I wasn't so apt to buy another one. I can't tell you how many times I done bought something I already had because I didn't have it where it should have been. So that's the one thing. Clean up around the house. Get everybody involved in it. Get rid of some things. You can sell some things that you did not need. That's income coming in. Pay off a bill you want to declutter them bills too. So declutter them by decluttering your house. That's number one practical. Another thing is, and this is a huge thing because this is part of our budget that has to be there. Food, right? Decide how you're going to eat. This trips up a lot of people, and it tripped me up for years. I didn't know how to grocery shop, and I hated going grocery shopping.
Uh-oh, you didn't know nutrition from immediate gratification.
I knew that, but I didn't know how to create a meal. To be honest, I didn't know how to create a meal. I'm the baby, and so my mom, she just said, come eat. I wasn't in that kitchen watching the magic happen. So creating a meal and creating a grocery budget, that just was not something I knew how to do. It just seemed like, okay, I'll just get the food because we need to eat it, and then it would go to waste because I didn't know how to meal plan. So I would say also go in and take an assessment in your cabinets. Do I eat this? No, I just got it because it was on sale or I thought I should buy whatever. Create a grocery list around a meal plan, the things your family is going to eat, the things that's going to actually be nutritious. Don't do a whole bunch of processed foods because it's going to be eaten up fast, and then they're still going to be hungry because it's not actually feeding your cells. So then later on down the line, you got costs for medical costs. So it's like a snowball. So I would say those things. And the next thing, take an assessment of where you're living and why you're living there. Okay, if your expenses, because housing market is out the roof right now, from what I understand.
Oh yes.
And I was blessed because I bought my house a couple of years ago, but I had already entered into an agreement with my landlord that they were going to sell me the house at a certain number, a certain price.
Oh, like a land contract.
It wasn't a land contract. It was just somebody I knew because I was doing this job and
They just blessed you.
blessed me, okay? It was a blessing that I didn't even know I was going to walk into. So they honored that and gave me the price of the house based on them buying it a few years ago. So I would say make sure that you walking into, don't just buy something because you want to live in a certain neighborhood and think you deserve that when your budget hasn't said that you earned that yet. A lot of times we think we deserve something that we have not earned yet.
Oh yeah, and that goes for a lot of young people. Matter of fact, I was talking to my kids. I said, I rather have my investments appreciate instead of depreciate. When you buy that jewelry, when you buy those shoes, whenever you buy that stuff, as soon as you walk out the store, it's depreciating.
Yeah.
And you got a home, say, well, I don't want to have all those headaches, but I'm saying, if you put a new roof like I had to do, if you get a new furnace like I had to do, a new water heater, cut some trees down and may destroy your home, all those things are adding value to your investment, your initial investment. Next thing you know, it's doubled, it's tripled.
That's
and
right.
Guess what? When you get ready to sell it or you need a home equity line of credit
right.
for an emergency, you've got the money.
That's right. I walked right into equity in my home because I got it at a low rate, and I'm in a position now to pay it off fast so that it can be an asset. Right now, it's still, until I pay it off, it's still, I look at it as not an asset. And that brings me to an investment. You talking about investment. The mindset of, oh, I invested in these shoes. People will say that. Or I invested into this coat. Or I invested into this bag because it's $5,000, $20,000. Maybe that's a world I don't know about. Maybe you can't really resell the bag. I know that they do resell the bags, but I want to challenge people that have that money as an investment, that money in your pocket and that money that's appreciating instead of so fast to dole it out with saying, oh, this is an investment. Don't trick yourself. If you cannot go and really spend that, I would want you to really reassess if that's an investment.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is so true. I can't put up this diamond ring. I can't put up this gold necklace. If I take it to the pawn shop, they're going to give me pennies on the dollars.
Yeah.
But if you got a house, if you got a nice vehicle, you can get some money. You can get a loan. But, the things that you think are valuable, they're only valuable to you. And if you ever get in an emergency and have to sell them, you're selling it for pennies on the dollar.
That's right, Marcus. Yep. Versus it being in a mutual fund and it is actually accumulating and doubling the rule
Or
of
stock
72.
splits. My mutual
Absolutely.
fund, I didn't pay for my mutual fund. It came with my job. Another thing that we didn't talk about is education above and beyond high school, getting into college and getting a foundation where you don't have to accept any job. I used to take the kids to Mackinac Island, and there was a guy that had a wheelbarrow that was shoveling the feces from behind the horses. And I told all the kids, you don't want that job. You want to go to school, get a good education so that you can pick and choose. And our young people now, they think, oh, I can pick and choose. No, you can't pick and choose because you don't have the experience or the education to pick and choose. Basically, you have to take what you can get.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, Marcus. I will expand upon that. I feel as though trade schools need to really be hyped back up because we are missing. Like when I was looking for someone to remodel my house, they don't even have enough workers because they don't have people that's really wanting to do that type of trade.
Yeah, back in
Plumbing.
high school, there used to be wood shop.
Absolutely.
And we actually used to build a little house in our class, but I don't know where that stuff went.
Absolutely. Well, I think a lot of people do. They encourage college, which that's a great thing. That's just educating yourself so that you can see what else you want to do in this world, right? But plumbing is a legitimate job.
Everybody needs it.
And everybody needs it. And I will even say, now it's not the best job. But even that person picking up that stuff, can you imagine if nobody was picking that up? But the main thing is, what are you doing with your money? Once you make that sacrifice, any job can feel like you picking that up when you don't like to do it.
Yeah, especially if that money is burning a hole in your pocket and you getting this and you getting that. You got a house full of food, freezer full of food, and you buying pizza just because you got some money and you want to be lazy.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's that mindset. What is this money for? And again, I feel as though it is more emotional when we're trying to feed our emotions, and that's a legitimate thing. But I would just challenge people to look outside the norm. How do I feed my emotions without destroying my goals?
Yeah, reading a book, looking at some videos that can better yourself.
Oh yeah.
Exercise.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you want to put in, I tell people, I say, first of all, pay your bills. Mm-hmm. Invest in yourself, and then you can invest in other people, you can invest in your community, you can invest in your household. But if you don't invest in yourself and you don't pay your bills, you ain't got nothing coming, because you ain't got no credit and you ain't got no health.
That's right.
Those are the things that we need. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. And once again, I want you to let our audience know where they can contact you and get additional resources and additional information.
Okay, they can contact me at T Fleming, that's TFLEMING at primerica.com. They can also reach out to me and find me in motivational content on Twyla.abundantliving on Instagram.
I'd like to thank our guests, and I'd like to thank our audience, and I think that this was really an impactful show, and hopefully we can get this out here and affect a lot of people's life and let their life shine. This is Marcus Jefferson saying goodbye for the Bulletin News. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bulletin News, you can use.